Would ILIS ever consider a buyback program or pay a small percentage to an investor to buy and hold shares at, let's say, a 10% discount for a year, like some companies do? And to follow up on this question, does ILIS own any outstanding shares?
So for the first part, the simple answer is yes on the discount for long-held shares. And that's something that we've been toying with and thinking about for a while. Nick and I have been talking about it for some time. What we've been doing is watching what some other companies have done in this regard, and they've done it with relative success. We've been waiting to see what happens when those shares come to the point where they can be sold and what the shareholders then do with them. It does look, though, that if the fundamentals of the business are strong, shareholders tend to still hold on to those shares. And we know that the fundamentals are very strong with ILIS. So this is certainly something we're considering doing and we'll probably look to do in the near future. Regarding the buyback, I would say it's always a contentious topic because a company should probably be spending its cash on growing and creating long-term value with strong fundamentals and acquiring really good assets that yield a really good return rather than spending it on a buyback. Especially a mergers and acquisitions company, right? I mean, we should typically be focusing our cash into acquisitions. And unless a company is so awash with capital and nothing to spend it on, buybacks in the OTC, I think they usually hurt the investors long term. When cash is spent with no assets bought, the price might rise, but ultimately the retail investors are going to sell at a profit anyway, and then the price is going to return to where it was. And investors work out that there probably isn't much on the horizon. And that's certainly not the case with us, right? So people need to understand as well that early stage companies typically come to the OTC, they come to the public markets to raise capital by selling stock and not raise capital and then give it back. So they use that capital to acquire assets typically or invest in the growth of their business. However, we're not saying no, we're just saying there's a time and a place for it, and we certainly don't rule it out. I think, as we always say, our focus right now is in investing on top quality assets and creating maximum value. And that's part of our clear-cut strategy that will take us to NASDAQ. And then, in terms of the outstanding shares, ILIS owns all of its outstanding shares, but it can't trade its own shares. So I'm not really sure what that question means. Do they perhaps mean authorized shares? ILIS could buy shares back and put them to treasury so that they're not outstanding and they just become authorized. But again, for me to answer that question properly, I would need more clarity on whether they mean outstanding or authorized, or perhaps the Discord can explain exactly what they mean, and I'll be happy to answer that question another time.
Yeah, we'll find out in a bit more detail. Just to add to what you said, ultimately, we always say we do whatever we can to add shareholder value, don't we? So that's why these things are always revisited, just to see if we're doing what's best for the company and for our shareholders.
100% right, and that's why we do think these things through. We consider every option, and we're looking at it and we're saying, is this going to grow our company? Is it going to add value to the shareholders? If it ticks both of those boxes, we'll certainly be considering it and possibly pushing forward with it.
Absolutely.